In the zombie apocalypse, survival is everything. And aside from chugging entire bottles of orange juice in one sitting, being able to defend yourself from the cannibal cadavers and senseless psychopaths could spell the difference between life and death. But if you don't have any weapons available, what do? Most people would say, use your fists. But Frank West can't risk damaging his hands as he needs them to take pictures. So the only other option is spitting on them like your average council estate chav. There is only one rule for this run. I can only deal damage to enemies by spitting on them, aside from one specific instance where I am forced to use a weapon for a mission. Let's get started. After showing off my skills in war photography, I arrive at the Willamette Mall to get the scoop of a lifetime. After a brief chinwag with Carlito and shoving my camera in his face, I strip down to my boxers for a laugh. Then make my way to the entrance plaza, which is pretty well fortified against the moaning menaces outside. But after taking everyone's picture, this crazy old codger opens the door like a maniac to rescue her dog, unleashing a tidal wave of rotting flesh and gnashing teeth upon them all. Now my standard extracellular projectiles don't do any damage at all, but by mixing two snacks together in a blender, you can make Spitfire juice, which turns my loogies into cannonballs. This is going to be my bread and butter throughout the run. After making a few of them, I prove myself to be a better photographer than Jed would, and he challenges me to take an outtake photo worth more than 500 pp. After pulling this off in a matter of seconds, I make my way to the food court to help Brad deal with an issue. Turns out the issue is Carlito and his itchy trigger finger, so I try to teach him a lesson by giving him the old hock tuh. After spazzing out for a bit, I managed to send him packing. Then I might have accidentally spat a hole through Bert Thompson's chest. But on the bright side though, I did manage to save his friend Aaron. Then me and Brad the Chad go to the entrance plaza to rescue Dr. Barnaby from a bookshop, which is the same bookshop I need to have a mooch around a bit later to find a specific magazine to help me out with the run. After he tells us where to stick it, I find myself some fresh new duds, which marks the end of my career as Flasher Bear and the beginning of my new life as Business Bear. I save Leah from a jewellery shop, then on our way back to the safety of the security room, I encounter the ne'er-do-wells, which started the long-winded process of me chasing them around the park and spitting at them when I got close. After a grueling 8 minutes of this, eventually they get removed from the equation of life, and I drop Aaron, Leah and Sophie off at the security room. After making some more saliva smoothies at Movieland, I head to Wonderland Plaza to confront my first psychopath, Adam the Clown. After covering him with about 100 litres of my mouth and dew, he gets his life cut short. Then I save Greg, Yu and Shinji, and Greg shows me a shortcut back to Paradise Plaza. This is going to trivialise going from A to B. After dropping them off safely, we find out that Carlito has kidnapped Dr. Barnaby. So after realising that Business Bear reminds me of someone specific, I head over to the entrance plaza to help Brad arrest him. After grabbing the book I need, Carlito finds out that bringing guns to a spit fight is a stupid idea. After he escapes yet again and Brad ends up getting injured, seriously, how incompetent are we? I now have to get some medicine to stop Brad from dying. Before I get to that though, I save Terry and Ross from JD Sports, and after dropping them off, I get ambushed by this absolute weapon. He almost killed me a couple of times, but as always, no earthly weapon can match my Goz. After he takes a dirt nap, I try to save Isabella, but she does a runner. Then I grab the first aid kit, rescue Gordon, and bring him back to the security room. After giving the first aid kit to Jesse, I piss Jedward off with my sick as hell photography skills and make some more Goz juice. Because of the book I just picked up, the juices I make now last twice as long. So even if I only have enough snacks to make one, it will hopefully last long enough that I don't get grabbed by the shortened curlies. Now that I'm stocked up on cocktails, I head to Chris Lip's home saloon to confront Cliff. He is really easy to beat. In fact, I noticed that the spit attack actually does more damage than some of the guns in the game, and it has a decent range to it. Once Cliff is defeated, I completely forgot to rescue his hostages. Oops. Then whilst on my way back to the security room, I encounter these lunatics, which I found out are incredibly easy to kill. After saving Jennifer and returning her to the security room, I spot Isabella on the cameras. But before I go deal with her, I head to Cletus's gun shop to spit in his face. In the original game, this boss fight was the bane of my existence. So much so that I resorted to spitting on him from outside the door without even thinking. Cool, I guess I have trauma-induced autopilot. That's nice. Unlike the original, I did manage to beat him first try with minimal effort. After he gets chomped on by a drooling Draugr, I make more Jawa juice, then head to North Plaza to see Isabella. But as per usual, she just attacks me. I must smell funny or something, because this is how 90% of my interactions go in this game. After spitting in her eyes, which causes her to crash, she tells me to meet her and her brother later, and they'll tell me the whole shebang. I grab some snacks, make some more juice, then I encounter a family of psychos. You know what they say, the family that slays together gets spat on by a journalist. This boss also used to give me a fair amount of trouble, but luckily Capcom nicely decided to add some lasers to enemies with rifles and rocket launchers to indicate when they're about to fire. Because of this, I found it easier to dodge their shots. I still got hit mined, but it was a damn sight easier than it used to be. After taking out Roger and Jack, Thomas starts grovelling. So I put him out of his misery. Then I save Wayne and Floyd and return them to the safety of the security room. Next I head to Wonderland Plaza to stop Joe from being a downright degenerate. She's incredibly tanky, but luckily for me, she spends almost the entire fight walking towards me and trying to hit me with a melee attack, which allowed me to cover her head to toe with my snaz. After she dies in the cringiest way humanly possible, I save Kay, Sally and Nick, and after dropping them off, I head over to see Isabella. After having to entertain myself until she arrives, she stumbles through the door followed by one of the local crackheads. After saving her, she tells me that her brother Carlito popped a cap in her ass, so now I have to carry her to the security room. Once I drop her off, I head over to Movieland to put a stop to a cult. Plus, I can stock up on smoothies. Sean is a tanky bastard. Plus, because of his moveset, I have to spend most of my time in the fight running away and dodging his attacks. And to make matters worse, I accidentally threw one of my juice cups at him, meaning I had to reload and start the fight again. Eventually, I managed to beat him, and once he gets impromptu eye surgery, I save all of his hostages. But there's a major problem Capcom didn't fix in the remake. The NPCs are still brain dead. So much so that throughout the entire run, I had to save them multiple times from getting their necks ripped out. Their AI is so garbage that they end up making me miss my scoop chance because they take so long to do anything. Meaning, I had to reload yet again. This time, I head straight for the scoop. And after Dr. Barnaby has a SPAC attack, we find out that he helped make the zombies. Then he gets game ended. After this, I have a rematch with Sean, save his dumbass hostages, although only 3 of them made it to the security room alive. Then I stumble upon a local Redditor, who's threatening to burn them all down. You know what puts out fire? Water. You know what's made of water? Water. But I don't have any, so I just spat on him, which causes him to get his marshmallows roasted. After putting the fire out, I take him and his would-be victims to the security room. Then I find out that Carlito has started playing Bomberman in the maintenance tunnels. Before I deal with that though, I decided to meet up with Jedward one last time. I don't know why, but Skinny Jack Doherty always gives me a hard time, even in the original. In fact, the only reason I didn't die is because there's an infinite supply of orange juice right next to where you fight him. And to make matters worse, I accidentally threw some Spitfire again, so I had to restart the entire fight. After finally beating him, I save Tad. Then after dropping him off, I come across a problem. Throughout this entire run, I have been saving as many NPCs as I can because you get quite a lot of PP for doing so. But Otis decides to constantly send me updates on survivors to save at really inconvenient times. And in my haste to save so many people, when I finally got round to ruining Carlito's game of Bomberman, I ended up soft-locking myself. I even made a bunch of Fleetfoot smoothies in an attempt to try and fight the lack of time available to me, but alas, it didn't work. So I had no choice but to reload again. And this time I ignored Skinny Jack Doherty because I had already fought him twice at this point and my mind could not take the strain of going through that again. As you probably would have guessed, I can't use vehicles. So I have to run around trying to dodge not only the cantankerous cadavers, but also Carlito and his DUI crimes. The latter being easier than the former. After grabbing the first bomb, I pick up the maintenance tunnel key, which ended up saving the run later. I'm not joking, if I didn't accidentally stumble upon this tiny little key, I would have been up Shit's Creek without a paddle. Between the slight attempts to kill Carlito, picking up his bombs, and getting run over by the twat, it took me just shy of 10 minutes to save the Willamette Mall from total annihilation. Meanwhile, Braddington Chadsworth makes yet another attempt to arrest Carlito, which unfortunately ends in his demise. Then I head back to the security room, and Isabella wants to show me Carlito's man cave. So we take a long walk over there because she's slower than the first Pentium chip. When we finally arrive, I'm immediately called back to the security room by Jessie. Such a piss take. Turns out she's found out where Carlito is. The annoying part is that I now have to save him, which I really don't want to do. If not for him, Brad the Chad would still be here to give us his trademark stern look for cracking jokes. But regardless of my feelings on this, I have no choice but to go to his rescue. Turns out he was kidnapped by Larry's stunt double. Despite him being an utter damage sponge, he was really easy to dodge. So much so that he only got hit by him once in the entire fight. After he drops dead, Carlito gives me his necklace and fucking dies. Good riddance. After returning it to Isabella, the only thing left to do now is head to the helipad to wait for the helicopter. Whilst on my way there, the military show up to take care of things, which means shoot everyone in the head whether they're alive or not. After Jessie chows down on them, I put her out of her misery and wait for the helicopter. But the pilot becomes an entree, meaning it crashes to the ground, marking the end of the story. But I'm not done here. Oh no, because now we have to get through overtime mode. After Frank's mental breakdown ends up getting him bitten, Isabella tasks me with finding 8 items to help her make the first ever batch of Zombrex. It needs to be said though that the soldiers in the Deadrising Deluxe Remaster are even more annoying than the original. Capcom clearly thought they were absolute pussies before because my god, they have been ramped up to 11. And this wasn't as prevalent as it was in the supermarket. There are so many of them in here that I got staggered to death almost instantly, which meant I had to escape the helicopter. After this, I knew that a direct approach was a stupid idea, and that's where the maintenance key proved its usefulness in troves. The tunnels only have zombies in them, and all of the items you need to collect are conveniently placed close to all the exit points, which started the routine of running to the exit point, grabbing the items, and making a nerve-wracking beeline back to the tunnels until I have all the items. Then I tactically take out all the dickheads in the supermarket just so I can grab as many snacks as I can to make some more smoothies. After returning to Isabella, she then tasks me with getting some bees for her, and Capcom nicely decided to lower the number from 10 to 5. Once that's done, I get cured of undead AIDS and we head through the caverns using some zombie repellent. After we let a bunch of them loose on some soldiers, we commit Grand Theft Auto, and then I come across the one instance where I have to use a gun to shoot this tank. And once it's been destroyed, I have to fight the big bad final boss, which in usual Capcom fashion is an old man with severe anger issues. When the fight starts, all my items are removed from my inventory, but my juice effects are still active. Oh yes, the run is still possible. But after covering him in my mouth excretions, eventually he drops to his knees and the fight comes to a sudden halt. What's going on? Why won't he die? Well, it's because I have to hold down a button so Frank can disembowel him. As the zombies chow down on General Egg, Frank lets out a primal scream, and the story comes to an end. And with that, I beat Deadrising using only spit. This was a ridiculous but incredibly fun challenge, aside from a few frustrating moments here and there. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe? It helps out the channel massively. Plus, if you turn on the notification bell, you get to watch more juicy content from yours truly when it releases. I also have a Discord server. The link will be in the description and in my channel bio. If you want to support me further, consider joining as a channel member. You get early access to my videos and a mention in them for being such a legend. If there's a specific video you want to see, or you just want to have a chat, drop a comment down below or message the Discord server. And I'll see you next time.